and welcome to the CS Show. CS stands not only for customer success, but also for content secrets. This podcast explores the content secrets of customer success leaders.
We put the spotlight on content innovation and brings you the inside look at some of the most exciting moves made by customer success teams and leaders to address growth, scale through content.
We are your co-hosts. I'm Dina.
And I'm Guy. And on today's episode, we are very happy to talk with Effie Mansdorf, a Senior Director of Customer Success at Adaptive Shields, who was also voted one of the top 100 customer success strategists for 2022. Effie has massive experience in customer management roles for more than 20 years, and on a personal note, she is a good friend. We will learn about the touch points in which content has been instrumental in scaling the support and CS team activities in Adaptive Shields. And we will also talk about some of the future movements and how to make our future more successful.
Let's get started. Hi, Effie. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dina. Hi, Guy. Thank you so much for having me.
To start with, tell us a bit about your background and experience as a customer success leader.
So I've, like many in the industry, I've been in customer success before it was even called customer success. Probably started about 20 years ago. And I've been in various customer-facing roles throughout my career. Probably in the last 10, 15 years, it shifted more to leadership roles, especially since customer success became a little bit more established. And in the past 5 or so years, I've been joining startups from scratch and creating customer success teams from nothing, which has been very challenging and really amazing thing to do as well.
So now you're working at Adaptive Shields. So who are the typical customers of Adaptive Shield and what type of stakeholders do you and your team engage with?
That's a great question. So Adaptive Shield is in the cybersecurity realm. So that in itself poses a really unique, basically, point of view when it comes to stakeholders, because in the cybersecurity vertical, customers don't, we don't always have access to customer data. Sometimes customers also don't provide feedback the way maybe others do in other areas. What's special about Adaptive Shield, and I'll just really quickly tell you what we do, is we solve the problem of organizations having dozens, sometimes hundreds or more SaaS applications, and each application has its own security setting. And security teams have no way of tracking, have no visibility through it. So what we do is we solve it by connecting to these SaaS applications, like maybe Salesforce, everyone's familiar with that, pulling all the security settings and guiding the security team if it's configured correctly or not. If it's not configured correctly, they have to go and work with the admin in order to make sure it's configured. So to answer your question on who the stakeholders our end customer is, really the security team, but we're extremely dependent on those SaaS business owners as well, who have absolutely no experience in security. So it's a really, really challenging and exciting position to be in.
Thank you.
Effie, let's start with the support team. We want ideally to reduce the repetitive workloads and activities that support team members perform, and we want to scale while not necessarily increasing headcount. Was this a challenge in Adaptive Shields, and how did you address it?
Yeah, absolutely. So being a startup, and I'm talking about a real startup, when you're starting with the first dozen or so customers, you're not really sure what the challenges are, what kind of questions the customers have. So you have to sort of grow with the company and grow with the customers. And when I joined, really, we're looking at a few sort of tiers that we want to have with customer support. And like you said, we want to reduce really the amount of tickets that come to our support. So the first stop will be our knowledge base. We want to make sure that the content is not only compelling enough, informative, if the customer gets the right experience, understands what they need to do before they even open up a ticket. Then after that, it could go to tier 1 to maybe sort of our support team can maybe guide a customer on where to look at in our support knowledge base, what to do. Maybe even give them a really short video in order to help enhance that. But the whole idea is to make it make our customers as self-sufficient without having to go ahead and open up a ticket.
Thank you. And when you look at the knowledge base items, the knowledge base generally, who create and maintain the knowledge base? I'm interested to know if it's the support team, the product team, other teams.
So that's a good question as well. So there's different areas within our product and our solution that one may need support with. So we could start with the technical part. We have, like I mentioned before, we have actual integrations from Adaptive Shield into different SaaS platforms. So that sort of integration and that connection is outlined by our product team and ultimately built by our backend team. So our product team are the ones who actually own the instructions of how to connect and what steps and sort of what roles and permissions you need in order to do that. Moving forward, if we see that something needs to be enhanced, someone from our support team may go ahead and update it together with the approval of the product team. So there's that part. And the other part is sort of like, what's the best use case? What do I do here and there? So that is a little bit of a combination of customer success, marketing, and product as well.
Nice. That's what I was hoping to hear. And how did you measure the improvement, if you could measure improvement, and if there's any statistics to share with us?
Yeah. So ultimately, what we want to do is reduce the overall tickets. Doesn't matter what kind of tier and why they're coming in. So since we're talking about content here, I won't really go into the steps we're taking in order to improve the functionality and the stability of our overall product, because that goes without saying. But what we want to do is reduce the amount of tickets overall that is a result of I didn't understand or I didn't read the document. If you want to be very crass, for those who know what those stands for, is RFIL. Read the effing document, which happens a lot, that customers just don't read the basic instructions. So we want to reduce that. And how do we reduce that? Maybe make it shorter, longer, whatever it is, make it a little obvious. So the way that we measure is those tier one, or actually, those tier one tickets that come in and say, how do I do this? Or I'm not able to figure out the permissions for that. Those kind of questions of not that I'm clicking on a button and it's not working. The question of how do I do that? Or where do I find this information? If we can see that those are getting reduced over time, then we know that we're doing something right. And that's one of the items that we're gearing towards, and we want to improve it even more. We haven't done this yet with some how-to videos as well.
Thank you. So that was about the support team and the knowledge base. And when it comes to the customer success team, what were the specific challenges you faced, and what practices did you implement that were based on content development?
So this is an ongoing project, we'll say, of how we could be one to many. I think that's something that happens in many organizations, not just cyber, not just anyone else. What you want to do is really not have to do that high touch approach for every single customer. You want to have one sort of activity that goes out to many, and content is the way that could be done the most easy way. So the first thing that we've done is make sure we have sort of like a what's new newsletter. And the what's new not only shows anything technical new, but also some sort of use cases that may have come out. So in the past, it was very passive. We would upload it to a certain area in the knowledge base. But what we've done as well is the CSMs reach out to their stakeholders with a little personal note, and that makes it a lot more compelling and relevant. So they may say something like, here's that feature request that you've been waiting for, go ahead and implement here and read about it. They may say, there's a use case that is very relevant that you may want to go ahead and look at. Because if it's a what's new, sort of like what's new every quarter or every few months or a month or two, customers are not going to really look at it. They're not going to browse. But if a CSM points out what's specifically relevant for them, then they're more likely to open it and implement it. And we've seen that happen.
Interesting. And were there any measurable results that you can share with us in this context?
So we haven't started measuring it to see the amount of impact that it's had. The truth is, I haven't really thought about how to measure that specific area, but it's something that we are implementing, and you've given me food for thought, so thank you.
And where you be able, maybe using this approach to say you have more customers handled by one CSM, or that's too early in the game?
It's too early. We still have a manageable amount of customer success managers, with like the ratio per customer to customer success managers. But what my goal is that I'll be able to add, especially maybe more of the commercial and the smaller customers that don't need that high touch, that could be self-sufficient, and even wean them away from customer success managers and put them on a complete tech touch, self-sufficient model.
Okay, well, I hope this will be work very successfully for you,
Thank you.
which means that you will be growing significantly. Great.
Yes.
FEM, we want to quickly touch also on the trusted advisor aspects. We also believe it has a relation to content. We train and develop CSMs to be trusted advisors to customers. Can you share how your team handle this very sensitive role with their audience and their customers?
Absolutely. So, being in cybersecurity, especially SaaS security, it's a very niche area. So, what we do, obviously, the security team themselves don't really know what the best practice is. So, of course, we have training, and all our CSMs know what the best practices are in order to advise them initially through onboarding. But moving forward and for the long term, we have a chief information security officer here at Adaptive Shield. And when he finds sort of like these little vulnerabilities that are very relevant to us, he'll send it to us, and we'll in turn send it to our customers as well to show that we're on top of things, that we know. Here's an article that just recently came out on some sort of Mac version that has a vulnerability that you should go ahead and upgrade. So having this ongoing advisory role for our CSMs are really important. Same thing goes for our blogs that marketing comes out with. Anything that we're seeing in the field, anything that's happening within the industry that we see that are relevant, well, the CSMs will go ahead and take those articles, forward it, and really add a little snippet of why this is important, why it's relevant.
Nice. And we spoke before about the fact that every cybersecurity solution or product is aimed or supposed to help the customer cybersecurity team, but there's always impact on the business team. So to what extent your team is able to engage with let's say, cybersecurity people or stakeholders, and whatever they can share those best practices with them, or it requires a different approach?
It requires a different approach. We sort of have a gatekeeper. We can't approach those those business owners directly, although we would love to, because they're the ones who hold the keys to the kingdom. They're the ones who really configure something or not. We always have to sort of go through the security team. But one of the approaches, because again, they hold the keys to the kingdom, the challenges that we have is that from a security point of view, you have to configure something a certain way. But from a user experience point of view, the business owners may not like it too much. So if we take an extreme case, that may mean that when the users log into some sort of SaaS application, they have to log in, then they have to have two-factor authentication on their phone, and then they have to put in passwords. Again, an extreme case, but that's not fun for the ultimate users. And what would happen is if we do go ahead and implement it, although it is best practice from a security point of view, they're going to get a lot of phone calls from their hundreds of users of saying, can you just get rid of this? This is really time consuming. This is not really fun for me to do. So there's that balance that we have to take. And that's part of the customer success manager's job, is to address it and to help the security team and the business owners work together and come to some sort of collaboration, cooperation on how they could go ahead and implement this in the best way.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the maybe the biggest challenges, how you make your customers happy as well and successful.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, on another subject, let's look into the future. With the potential for AI to enhance and even revolutionize content development, how do you foresee the impact of AI in general and ChatGPT in particular on your role and the role of customer success managers?
Uh, Everyone's asking that question. Well, I don't have, I don't have a crystal ball. I could probably put a really good educated guess. I think the first area in customer success that will benefit immensely from this AI and ChatGPT is probably going to be its support, a question and an answer. It's very clear cut. Do I think it will replace humans? Probably not. And if it does, we're probably looking at many, many years ahead. It's not something that's very short term. But I think that the first changes that we are going to see are going to be in the support realm, and we're already seeing that even with bots. When you initially go ahead and ask a support question, you may have a little widget on some sort of software or website. That's AI. They're already answering you without a human behind it, although there is a human that's inputting the initial data into it, and AI is processing it. When it comes to the customer success managers, I think something very similar is going to happen. So take the example of something that's happening, some event that's happening that's relevant to our customers that has to do with security and has to do with our platform. If you look at artificial intelligence scanning something that's going on and connecting use cases, you may not need a customer success manager in that aspect. They may be able to go, especially again when we're talking about AI, look at all the analysis that's happening on a customer's environment, see maybe what the usage is like, what the adoption is like, and you won't really need a human to go into it. Where you will need human is still for that relationship and for on that business level, and really to enhance and to work together. I don't think it will replace what the CSM's doing. Just think the role would shift a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that in the next years, what we will be able to see is AI tools and generative AI tools as tools to help us to enhance what we do and to help us do more with less, actually.
Absolutely.
So the question is, what additional or different skills will customer success managers be expected to have in 3 to 5 years?
Right. So I think one of the great skills currently a CS customer success manager could have is really the analytical skill, looking at the data and drawing conclusions. So if anything from AI can look at the data and draw conclusions already, I think there are some sort of analysis skills that CSMs can draw from that. Now that they have a conclusion, what do I do with this information? How do I guide a customer? And again, there's really nothing that could replace that high touch relationship. If there's a stakeholder that changes, if there is a key, persona within the company and their dog's name, that's really important. If they start negotiating on pricing or they want to upsell or cross sell or something like that, AI may be able to identify an opportunity, but actually moving forward with it, I think will still be sort of human touch.
I agree.
Thank you, Effie. Before we conclude the conversation, 2021 has been fantastic year for the economy, also for customer success and other the parts of the business, but that it followed by a very devastating 2022. So if we look now in 2023, and it's about doing more with less, and we talked about it here as well. Any tips for the audience on how to optimize their activities internally and externally with their customers?
Yeah, absolutely. If you could take anything and put it into a process and not have to do it over and over repetitive by a human, that already takes care of a lot of the makes your CSMs a lot more productive than they have to be. Now, it's not always an easy feat, but you have to know exactly what you need to put into a process and what software can support you with that. And that's something that at this stage of Adaptive Shield, I'm looking into very deeply, because we're at the process that the customer success team has been established, processes have been established, all of that in place, and now we have to go ahead and enhance it and make our team a lot more productive with what they have. So that's something that I personally am looking into right now.
Thank you.
So, Effie, thank you so much for sharing your experience and for this awesome conversation today. It was great talking with you, and we really enjoyed having you and talking with you today.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dina and Guy. I enjoyed being here.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Guy, so what do you think is the most important takeaway from today's episode?
Effie being in cybersecurity, I think highlighted the important aspects of content, whether it's the content creation, content management, but also how you promote content with customers. And we all know in cybersecurity, there are so many risks, so many threats, so many tools out there. And usually cybersecurity team, and I speak from personal experience, they just bombarded with so many things. So having someone, a vendor that can help them not only realize the value and make them successful or reduce the risks, as we say in cybersecurity, but also pinpoint to them to a specific piece of knowledge, specific content that can help them to, let's say, elevate their cybersecurity posture, make better use of the platform and the product that will make them more secured. All of these things, I think I call them golden nuggets because they not just provide good advice to customers, but they also create trust between the CSM and the customer.
So actually, it's a kind of personalization of the customer success management, and actually the CSM needs to know which piece of content or news or release will be relevant to which customer, and to tell them like you need to know that, you need to know that, and something like that, instead of like sending all content to all customers. Make the personalization and customization of that.
Yeah, and I think this is the luxury that Effie has with a company that's still young, and she has number of customers that she needs to help and work with a team, not maybe too big at the moment. So they have the luxury of kind of finding and personalizing the content. And she's mentioned they are doing different scanning of SaaS products, so they have specific knowledge about specific issues that customers have, and they can tailor to that extent the content. This is the upside. The downside is when they grow and scale. This is not a scalable solution, and then maybe you can apply that to your very high tier customers, which maybe have so many problems, and the content can really help solve some specific things. But CSMs will not be able all day long match content with customers' specific issues and challenges. Still, a very good practice, I think, at the stage that Adaptive Shields is in at the moment, and for Effie as a customer success leader.
I agree. And looking forward, maybe to make it more scalable. So this is where AI tools will be able to help in personalization of content and, make it more relevant to the needs of each customer.
Yeah, pretty sure that if you kind of correlate between what the product and the usage of that product on one hand with customers' challenges and so on, and the other content and how it solves similar issues, then I hope that this can become much more scalable approach in the future.
Definitely. So thank you, Guy, and thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and please share it with your colleagues and stay tuned for our next episode. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.